This week is Gingerbread House Day. Although the gingerbread house is associated with Christmas, it has a very un-Christmassy origin. Germans started making them during the 16th century, but after the Grimm brothers published Hansel and Gretel in the 19th century, gingerbread houses became a thing. How they became synonymous with Christmas is unclear, but you can't deny the fact that gingerbread houses do add that touch of Christmas cheer. Welcome to Kaleidoscope with Savithri, Rodrigo, where we're positive, daring, different. On the show today, a Lankan-born musician extraordinaire, a new hope for women entrepreneurs, and a Christmas menu that's a gourmand's dream. Kaleidoscope is on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, so remember to subscribe, follow, and like us for more. Our partners are the best: Park Street Gourmet, Srilanka Life, CDB, and The Daily Morning.
CDB Hybrid Leasing. Enjoy exclusive interest rate and much more for hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and EV vehicles.
This is CDB Snapshot, and here's looking back at the week that was. Sri Lanka's working abroad remit $530.1 million in November, making the year's total just below $6 billion. Business confidence in Sri Lanka reaches 154 points in November from 139 in October. Sri Lanka's national tea sales average declines to $3.92 in November from October's $4.02. The OPEC fund gives Sri Lanka a loan for $50 million for economic recovery. Pope Francis calls for peace amid ongoing wars in the Holy Land and across the world. The Notre Dame reopens 5 years after a devastating fire. The world's oldest known wild bird lays an egg at age 74.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Srilanka Life.
And here's Srilanka Life News Capsule. Recently, the Japan ASEAN Women Empowerment Fund granted a senior loan to Asset Line Finance, who in partnership with Blue Orchard Finance Limited secured what is the first post-COVID loan to a non-bank financial institution by an international lender. A significant step forward for women entrepreneurs in Sri Lanka and definitely a precursor for prosperous times ahead. Joining me in the studio is Amarasi Gunasekara, founding partner of Regis Capital, who spearheaded the funding process. Amarasi, this funding is quite an achievement. What does it mean for women entrepreneurs in this country?
This funding is a significant achievement for the country as a whole, specifically because of the timing. This kind of signifies how impact investors around the world will kind of endorse the empowering women, especially in Sri Lanka, in a time like this. The landmark transaction actually is because it is the first post-COVID funding that was given to a fresh NBFI, and that is quite significant compared to the funding track record that we've been having.
What was your involvement in the whole process?
So we act as the financial intermediary. That means that we would first cherry pick the right investment for the impact investor. Then we would also look at the prerequisite that the impact investor would look at, and we would hold hands in facilitating for the investor side in terms of legal, tax management, as well as coming into the country, and then we facilitate the borrower side in terms of learning the ropes, because fresh funding means a lot of just new standards and governance involved, so we have to walk them through till end-to-end the process.
So getting this loan secured, what were the challenges you faced?
It's actually quite a ride, because usually a transaction could finish in about 4 or 5 months if all boxes are ticked, but this is very unique because we were going through a presidential election and dissolved parliament and a general election and now a new government. So with all that in mind, having a global impact investor come into Sri Lanka with because Sri Lanka, the biggest challenge that we face is the sovereign grade rating is not there, so we are not in investment grade rating. So with a country like that, with a macro environment like this, so getting a foreign fund secured is quite a challenge. On the other hand, the biggest challenge that we see is usually when it's a fresh institution, like the breaking the ice in terms of the mindset, because it's a long-term commitment. You have to have a long-term vision, and you need to also have, like, all the ducks lined up in order to be able to bring the funding home.
So what role do you think women entrepreneurs will have in the future of our economy?
The women entrepreneurs have always played a role in Sri Lanka, from the first Prime Minister to first President to just having a workforce of tea development or tea plucking to apparel industry. So we have a large female workforce in the country that have been neglected. So now with the gender lens come into play and the gender equality come into play, I think we see from grassroots level entrepreneurs to boardroom level participation in female entrepreneurs. So that is very important to empower them for many reasons, because we would see that once you have like a female entrepreneur embedded or empowered, you would see the whole setup is also being established.
And so, as always, here's a peek at our markets this week. It was all positive news at the Colombo Stock Exchange, with the all share price index breaking all-time highs, with renewed foreign buying interest and average daily turnover levels increasing to 4 billion rupees. Oil prices rose slightly to $72.50 per barrel, with expectations that demand from China will rise next year after Beijing announced a looser monetary policy to stimulate economic growth. Gold prices moved up again to $2,685 per ounce, supported by rising geopolitical tensions and expectations of a third US rate cut by the Federal Reserve next week. Fashion Week has never looked as good as it did at the Riyadh Fashion Week this year. Rich heritage meets futuristic aesthetic to create the most ethereal looks on the runway. An award-winning pianist, composer and arranger who was born and raised in LA, Mahesh Balasooriya's love for the ivories began at the age of 6. At 12, he played for the President of the United States. At 19, he had written and conducted a film score. He also plays the saxophone, the clarinet, the tabla, the sitar, and has acted in film and also on TV. Numerous scholarships and awards, including Performer of the Year at Hamilton Music Academy, Mahesh has performed with some of the world's greatest. Ray Charles, Quincy Jones, Natalie Cole, James Brown, and one of the last to perform with Pandit Amaradeva. Mahesh Balasooriya was in Sri Lanka for 2 sold-out performances. Born and bred in LA, but you obviously have Sri Lankan roots. How much of that has influenced your music?
My dad was the biggest source of inspiration to introduce me to the depths of Sri Lankan music, and he's a professional musician from here, and he worked with all the greatest artists, and all of his original music is what gave me the full experience of Sri Lankan culture and music. And we grew up playing a lot of Sri Lankan songs together. He taught me how to read music. I got introduced to jazz when I was 12 at a after-school program. I was playing saxophone. I started on sax with jazz, and then I switched to the piano, and it gave me the opportunity to enter the creative realm of spiritual improvisation. I got to explore improvisation in every genre of music, even classical, where I'm playing the classical pieces, but then diving into my own creative arrangements and creative melodies in the realm of that classical era. And in the jazz realm, in the heavy metal, in the hip hop, everything, I just dive into the world of spiritual expression from within.
So you've, since say 12 years ago or so,
Yeah.
you've been touring a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Natalie Cole being one.
Yeah.
Tell me about those tours.
I played for the president when I was 12, and I did all these competitions. I won nationwide, worldwide competitions, and I played with Stevie Wonder when I was 18, Ray Charles when I was 16 for Blind Foundation, and Quincy Jones, and worked with all these artists, with John Williams, and I had a full scholarship to USC, but I wanted to serve the country in the military, so I decided to do that, play piano for all the veterans in the country, because I wanted to serve the country after 9/11. And then I did that, and I came back, and I was just playing some shows here and there in LA, but in 2012 came along, and I delved into a really high spiritual creative energy, and all of a sudden that year I got opportunities to play with Stanley Clarke. He's the top jazz bass player in the world. Arturo Sandoval is the top jazz trumpet player in the Latin jazz world, and then Natalie Cole, all three Grammy artists, and then Al Jarreau too, 2 shows with him. And we started touring the world, back-to-back tours. It was great, such a wonderful experience. And Natalie Cole taught me the art of improvising an accompaniment behind her vocals. So I would improvise an entire orchestration when there's no orchestra, and I'm the orchestrator. And I feed off the energies of her vocals to improvise the whole classical orchestration. And then there would be a big band orchestration, and I would improvise an accompaniment behind her vocals based on her energies, and then the R&B, and then the old school jazz. It was just an incredible experience to teach me the art of accompaniment for a vocalist.
Have you come across any sort of awe-inspiring moments, or do you just go ahead and just do what you have to do?
I kept it very genuine and real to the music. I never had to talk my way to the top. I never had to fake my name as an American name to make it as a musician. I prayed spiritual practice to God 24/7 my whole life since I was 3 years old. I was playing some gigs, and they loved how I played, and I just wrote my number on the napkin, and I made connections that way.
What's next for you from here?
Tapping into more music production and symphonic works, and dwelling with classical jazz influences. That's pretty much it.
It is no secret that at Christmas we all crave traditional Christmas fare. And what better way to satisfy that craving than having it cooked to perfection by chef extraordinaire Koluu at the Terrace by Koluu. We popped in to taste the fare, meeting the man himself.
It's a traditional Christmas menu, Savithri, and these are what we are planning to have. For starters, we are going to have a caramelized beet and pear salad with feta and walnut crunch. Going on to a roasted bell pepper soup with parmesan, then sliced roast turkey with gravy and cranberry sauce, stuffing, vegetables and minted peas. So sliced roast lamb with a nice mint gravy, the sliced roast pork with mustard and white wine sauce, and finishing off with my famous plum pudding with brandy butter.
While the Christmas menu runs until the 31st of December to give us all that decadent pep for Christmas, the regular a la carte menu is a feast to behold, with fare that is truly a gourmand's paradise, with something for everyone, every time.
The Terrace by Koluu is of course at Independence Square, which is one of the most beautiful surroundings. You can sit and admire everything and enjoy the scenery around. It's a nice, beautifully crafted menu, and a wonderful time training the staff, and they're very easy to train, and they learned everything very fast. The main thing is, Savithri, we give people what they like to eat. We don't try to teach them how to eat. So that's the key of this menu. Our portions also very good. We don't have to choose sides and sauces and everything. Everything is given to you, so that people, when they get a nice wholesome meal, keeping to the tradition of larger than life portions given by me.
Of course, that's definitely part of the attraction. May your Christmas be fulfilling. So as Christmas gets closer, let's remember the reason for the season. We'll see you next week.